Thank you very much. I apologize, I feel very ignorant because I didn't understand what was just said. I think we lost the translator for this last session. It's no problem, but I'm not sure what you said about me, but I'll take just a couple of minutes.
It was just an introduction.
Yeah, thank you very much to introduce myself. Anyway, my name is Sabrina Grimsrud. I work as a senior advisor at the Norwegian Mapping Authority. I think you heard, particularly in the International Services Department there. So the Norwegian Mapping Authority is a public agency under the Ministry of Local Government and Modernization. And we're responsible for all property registration and geographical information within Norway. I'll go into more detail during my presentation. The International Services section, where I work, deals with foreign aid, the implementation of foreign aid for Norway within the fields of mapping and property registration, where our expertise is. I've been kindly invited here today by the Slovak Environment Agency, so thank you very much for the invitation, because we are discussing about possibilities for a future EEA grant-funded project. Some of our projects are funded by EEA grants, as well as Norwegian-funded. I'm not sure how much you know about that, but I won't go into detail at the moment. My presentation will focus mainly on data harmonization as well as dissemination. I'm not sure how much has been said about harmonization already here at the conference, but Inspire defines it as producing data specifications which allow geographical information to be combined with each other coherently. So as I mentioned before, the Norwegian Mapping Authority is responsible for spatial information within Norway. We have 4 different divisions or areas of responsibility. One is geodetical information, so geodetic information such as the framework, the geodetic framework upon which all maps are based for Norway, as well as positioning services so that you can have accurate locational information based on satellite positioning. We have a hydrographic division, which is responsible for primar, electronic navigational charts worldwide. We have the land registry, which is responsible for property registration and cadastral services, and the mapping cadastre division as well, which is responsible for digital maps, things like place names, and for upholding the standard for geographical information within Norway. One of our most important responsibilities is as geodata coordinator, which means that we work with all the municipalities and all the different actors within, public actors and private actors within Norway who produce and use geographical information, and we coordinate that cooperation. And that cooperation has a formal name, which is called Digital Norway. It's the name of our spatial data infrastructure. I mentioned a little bit about our main tasks. We're responsible for coordination of all of the geographical information, which means we collect it, we systemize it, we manage it, and then we disseminate it with all of the public actors and some private actors through cooperation in this Digital Norway infrastructure. And I want to add that it's voluntary cooperation. The aim and the idea behind it is obviously so that high quality geographical information will be used more by a wider audience. We have a wide range of actors within Norway that are participating in this spatial data infrastructure. We have over 600 partners on the different levels: municipal partners, local, regional partners, as well as national partners. A little bit about the history of this cooperation. It started in 2003 with a government white paper establishing this cooperation as the foundation for increased value. And then it also defined that agencies participating should contribute the data that they produce according to a national standard, which has been in use for about 15 years in Norway. All the stakeholders agree on it. It's called SOSI. And then in 2005, the actual work of the spatial data infrastructure naturally started. And the formal legislation produced the Geodata Act of 2010, which also mentioned that all of the participating partners will be contributing and sharing their data with all the other participants based on the national SOSI standard, and which means that the content and the structure and the format in which the data is exchanged will be in line with product specification, the national product specification in the SOSI standard. Here I hope to illustrate a little bit the components of our national spatial data infrastructure. Yeah, so some of these points you've heard me mention already, but really the foundation of this cooperation is standards. I already mentioned the SOSI standards, so all of our information and product specifications are based on the national standard. Here you've had a lot of focus on the European standard, and we harmonize our data with the European standards as well, but to a lesser extent. We are mainly focusing on harmonization with the national standard. The framework, so at the heart of this cooperation are agreements. All the partners in Digital Norway cooperate based on voluntary agreement. These agreements are signed every year and updated every year, and the agreements outline cost sharing. So the cost is shared by all participants, and it's based on the amount of data they'll be using and how often and how in demand the data is, both by them and the users, etc. And within this SDI, there's also a subgroup for data sharing. It's called Geografiské, and it's a sort of special interest group for those partners who want to have even more access to the spatial data within Norway, but also invest more money towards projects that they can contribute to financially and with personnel to develop high-resolution data and have access to that exclusively. Another component is the metadata. So about, I would say, maybe 75% of the data that is shared in Norway is also including metadata. So unfortunately not a perfect system yet, but we're on our way. Again, both the data that's delivered and the metadata, so the information about the data, are based on the specifications of the national standard SOSI. And the end product services, that's the fourth component, access services. So we have today over 400 different kinds of spatial data services. I'll go into that again later. So, yeah, one of those components, which I didn't go into detail about, was the National Geodata Portal, or Geo Portal, as you may call it. This is the interface for that cooperation that I mentioned with all the partners. It contains discovery services, over 300 web mapping services, over 100 web feature services. It contains object catalogs, so if you're interested, I know the words here, you might even not be able to see them from that distance, but you can go to geonorge.no and there's some English information there. You can just do a search. You can search for a specific data theme or word and see what comes up, and most likely you'll find some web mapping services or data packages or apps, for example. All the information about the data specifications are there as well. So the spatial data is there both for downloading and viewing, and we've been doing this for a long time, and the concept behind it, which we've been focusing on for a long time, is service-oriented architecture. And this is based on open standards. It's probably hard for you to see the words, but I'll try and illustrate what this diagram is. It's a simplified overview of how our GeoPortal works, and because it's really the tool that we use for data harmonization and dissemination within Norway. So the different columns there represent the different phases of the data that we have, the spatial information. On the left, the first column is all of the data that we have from partners, reference data, as well as thematic data. And we make product specifications using the national SOCI standard with UML models. And these product specifications turn into geodatabases, which are modeled after these national standards. You see Inspire data model there as well, because sometimes the data is harmonized for Inspire. I think we have about 20 national partners who have to deliver to Inspire, and so they share their Inspire harmonized data within Norway and also internationally. And we use open source tools such as GIS tools. And we use Canadian software called Feature Manipulation Engine to populate this harmonized geodatabase with the spatial data. And then we produce services, GML, GeoJSON, different file formats for the data, different services, web feature services, mapping services, Atom feeds directly from those harmonized sources. And hopefully in the end, you have something which is going to give value for the partners participating. There's, rather than isolated solutions where each partner produces their own data and keeps it for themselves, they're now sharing it with each other, they're avoiding duplication, they can reuse the data that's produced from someone else and add to it and make it their own. So it's very cost effective, and it's ensuring the maximum use of the data. I think that's what I wanted to say with that slide. Success factors for us are that the data is discoverable, so that it's findable for those that are interested, and that it's usable. And it has to be high quality as well. Okay. I talked a lot about that we we are mainly harmonizing our data according to the national standards, but we're also influenced by international standards. So our national standard is based on ISO with the international standards at heart. And the Norwegian Mapping Authority, as well as several other Norwegian actors within spatial information, have been involved in international standards for a long time. I just wanted to mention that in work with ISO, UN GGIM, and European Location Framework, for example. So I hope I gave you a sort of glimpse about data, how data is harmonized and disseminated within Norway, and if you have any questions, please let me know.